The Boys has some of the most controversial and eyebrow-raising heroes in recent live action, but would that shock factor hold up in the face of One Punch Man's deadly monsters when they're fighting for the safety of others in the monster-infested supercontinent? Let's find out which heroes of The Boys would flourish in the Hero Association, and which heroes would be wishing they had a higher dose of Compound V. It's gonna be diabolical, so let's get on to the tierings. C-Class, for heroes like Moomin Rider. Even disaster-level wolf monsters known to fight against C-Class heroes are typically bulletproof, which should already set the standard for the dangers to expect in these cities. B-Class, for heroes like Mizuki, while they can usually defeat wolf level monsters alone, a few of these are generally needed to tackle disaster level tiger threats, which are capable of shattering asphalt, tunneling through concrete, and penetrating steel. A-Class is where names start to get made. Heroes like Stinger are usually enough to defeat disaster level tiger alone, and he's even able to make himself fly through sheer physical force by twirling his spear. Some of these heroes are fast as lightning, can slice through bullets mid-air, and perform instantaneous attacks which can kill dozens of bulletproof enemies in an instant. These guys might not look amazing next to the S-Class, but in a vacuum, they're serious. A My Masked is the next tier. Yes, you don't get through to S-Class these days unless it's through a My Mask. Ever since he came in, it's his goal to stop unworthy heroes breaking into the S-Class. So this is for those who may have been strong enough to enter the ranks before a My Mask's influence. However, with him now here, even those who may be stronger than S-Class's lowest ranks may be barred if they cannot meet a Mai's recent gatekeeping standards. And finally, the S-Class. If you can reliably defeat demon level monsters who hold the power to move above massively hypersonic speeds in battle, can punch through missile shelters like they're paper, and even survive mountain erasing explosions, then perhaps you really do belong here. Incredible power, speed, skill, and durability is required, and anything less will see you overwhelmed by the fierce monsters opposing you at this level. Being a soup is a big deal in The Boys, but is it a big deal in One Punch Man? Time to do some rankings. We're starting hot with Lamplighter. This soup has the ability to manipulate fire to impressive degrees, no pun intended, and is even capable of melting metal with his power. But before we rank him, I'm about to blow some of your minds right now. Did you know that the actor who played Lamplighter in The Boys and the actor who played Duncan in Lock and Key are not the same person? That's right, you've probably thought you've seen this one guy in a bunch of different stuff, but as it turns out, he's got a twin brother who is also an actor. I've been thinking I've known who this guy was ever since the days of Smallville and the X-Men around 20 years ago, but turns out they're two different people, and I only found this out last year. Like this video if you're finding this out for the first time, and let me know in the comments about it too. Anyway, while his fire is impressive, on the physical side of things he's actually not one of the stronger soups. Lamplighter can be harmed by bullets and physical trauma below what tiger level threats are known for doing casually, and while Lamplighter could be great on the offensive, he's very vulnerable on the defensive, which indicates he'd be something of a glass cannon in this verse within the wolf and tiger level ranges. For that, I'll put Lamplighter in B class for his powerful flames, but lesser speed and durability. This next guy will never see his placement coming. No, literally, he won't, because it's Blind Spot. I'd ask you all to clap your hands for Blind Spot, but given what happened last time someone did that, it might set off some PTSD. While this soup has some decent skills in martial arts and weaponry, it's not going to translate well against bulletproof monsters who'll be hitting him hard enough to knock some of his other senses out of play. Since Blind Spot is a low-level soup in terms of physicality, his offense is simply going to be rather poor in this verse, and his physical nature will liken itself most to C-class heroes such as Tank Top Tiger, who can survive car-flipping explosions hitting him directly, or D-Pad, who is able to literally punch people into the air. I keep telling you guys, some C-Class are kinda serious in their own little world. Anyhow, Blind Spot is going to struggle due to not being physiologically tough enough to hang with the bees. A-Train, however, does have the physical nature to actually do somewhat well in One Punch Man. His running speeds allow him to cover a lot of distance and help many people over a vast distance, and his soup nature enables him a decent level of enhanced strength, durability, and stamina. Narratively, I can see A-Train being a particularly fast character within the realm of A-Class over distances, and his combat speed being enough to hold up with some of the more solid characters of A-Class. However, despite all that, I think he runs into problems when it comes to his scale of attack. A-Train isn't a heavy hitter in his own verse compared to the top dogs, and that means he certainly won't be a heavy hitter in A-Class, where characters are known to plow through large monsters even at this rank. A-Train would be fast, useful, and sturdy enough, which just about gets him over the line, but his lack of attack power means A-Class will be be the highest he can ever go. Still, for the boys verse, A class is pretty damn good. Lack of attack power is pretty important in One Punch Man though. If you can't defeat monsters reliably, then your ranking probably isn't going to go as high as you may want, which is why I don't think Firecracker is worth a lot as a hero in this verse. Her powers, from what I remember, aren't all too dangerous, which means even worse for her in One Punch Man, and her physical nature isn't up there either, since she got hands put on her by Starlight one time and Kimiko on another. While I'd give her S class for 2 other reasons, as far as hero rankings go for her effectiveness in battle, it's C class for me. If her sparks were legitimately dangerous to monsters, it could have been higher, but without it, nothing to push her score higher. Kimiko would fare better, I believe. Her skills, ability to hurt other supes more convincingly, and tenacity earn her more points when it comes to ranking in the hero classes than someone like Firecracker. While you could argue that Kimiko isn't miles and miles above Firecracker, her regeneration is a very handy ability which will allow her to stay in the fight against a wider variety of monsters than a typical C class contender from the boys. Kimiko would no doubt be in serious trouble from the attacks taken by B class heroes. However, since she has a fairly impressive healing factor and eagerness to always get back into the fight, I believe B class is a fair place to put her. She's proven she can fight smart, fight dirty, and fight hard, which I think would earn her quite a few victories over Wolf and weaker Tiger level enemies thanks to her regeneration. She's actually kind of like a worse version of Zombie Man in approach, now that I think about it. And on the topic of abilities which let supes push above their weight, Translucence Invisibility, or whatever they described it as, would make a good tool for keeping him from getting tagged as much compared to his peers against monsters. I'd say his level of force puts him around the C or B levels of attack strength, but his level of durability will go a long way in keeping him in fights that he would have suffered greater in without, since he'd be hard to hit when invisible and is able to take some excessive force due to the nature of his carbon skin. I think I'll put him in B class rather than C. Without his diamond-like protection and invisibility, it'd be C class. Yet, as stated initially, these abilities provide him with that extra boost to see him slip into B class. However, his level of power would be sorely lacking in A, and quite frankly, he isn't fast enough to be considered A class material either, so he'd be somewhat useless in those ranges, and the hits coming at him would also render his durability a lot less reliable. Black Noir and Black Noir 2, I'll rank them together. Noir is definitely one of the more skilled characters in combat from the boys, which will be a good advantage for him, and when mixed with his superhuman stats, this should allow him to do some significant damage to monsters he faces. Physically, he's not amazing, as we know Homelander can essentially take him out immediately, so stronger monsters would have him seeing his imaginary friends rather quickly, so this is a B class position for Noir. As for Noir 2, it's a lot of the same, but just less fighting skills and the addition of flight. Being able to fly will certainly be useful in evading monsters and increasing his attack angling, but from what we've seen in his fight against Butcher and Starlight, physically he would not be considered much in the One Punch Man verse. Therefore, it's a hard B class rating for him too, and seeming as he was in the same fight, the Deep is another character who gets hard stuck because of his physical stats. His abilities don't really carry much weight against the majority of monsters, if even any at all, since who is to say sea monsters of One Punch Man will listen to him or care what he says, but getting decked by Starlight, being sternly inferior to Homelander or Maeve, slower than A-Train and so on, will keep him in B class too. Initially, I figured C class, but I think he's still somewhat respectable enough to be above that. Starlight has got some versatility to her which makes her inclusion interesting. She can fly, she has some kind of light generation and projection, and of course all the stat-based goodies that comes with being a supe. Physically, she's not as fast as A-Train or as powerful as Homelander or Soldier Boy, but she is evidently around or above the likes of the Deep and lesser supes like Firecracker. You could make a case for her extra abilities being enough to push her into A class, but truthfully, I'm not quite convinced. Her durability is not up to the standard expected in A class, and her speed isn't swift enough to eliminate that problem with movement alone. While her light-based attacks could be useful against wolf-level monsters and would keep her at a safe distance for much of her successes, against tiger-level threats where the attacks will come faster, harder, and without mercy, Starlight is not going to be getting away with what she does in the boys. Tiger monsters will be very dangerous, and most likely quicker than her more often than not. So with that combination coming together against her lower levels of supe durability in comparison to the top dogs, Starlight is going to have to settle for B class in my opinion. A lot of One Punch Man honestly comes down to raw stats, since speed and sheer power finalize most battle verdicts in one way or another, and if you're not up to the standard, even flashy abilities can't get you out of it. Queen Maeve is looking to buck the B class trend, however. Can she do it? Maeve is experienced in the role of a hero, knowing how to both protect and fight effectively, having been trained extensively in close combat. What sets her apart from those with skills like Noir or Kimiko though Kimiko is her superb level of strength, durability, and reflexes within the world of the boys. It's generally accepted that Maeve only loses out to strength and durability against the likes of Homelander or Soldier Boy, even proving that she can trade hits and even puts Homelander himself on the back foot. Many fans will never forget her bloodying his nose or doing some involuntary ear cleaning with that metal rod. She wasn't only able to keep up with Homelander, but she made a lasting impression that people even bring up to this day regarding Homelander's limitations on durability. Maeve has been shown to overpower superpowered beings and hang with the likes of those above her, putting her in some relativity to heavy hitters like Homelander, which means she should technically have enough power in her hands to even defeat tiger level monsters to a substantial degree, which when paired with her impressive ability to take many kinds of physical trauma and keep pushing, leads me to believe that she'd be able to make it into the A-class category. However, I don't think she'd be high A-class or anything of the sort, so it's close as I think she will lack the fighting speed required to reach the higher tier, but even a lower A is still A all the same. And girls really do get it done, since Stormfront is next, and I have her doing pretty well too. She was able to fend off and deal with attacks from Maeve, Starlight, Kimiko, and more when battling the heroes, which shows she has what it takes to deal with attacks from numerous powered sources, which include A-class material Maeve herself. Added to this, Stormfront can fly and conjure electricity. She thinks she's Darth Sidious out here. She can fry you with it, blow things up with it, and even charge someone up so much that it will send them flying. According to the writers, she can use this electric discharge to send a plane weighing around 800,000 pounds flying, so expect to be calling sick into work if you get hit with that one. Between her useful powers, high level strength and durability, and of course the ability to be somewhat relative to the likes of Maeve or Homelander, then I think it's another A-class for the books. Again, not near the top of A-class, since that's where speeds get crazy in terms of combat, but for low or middle of A, I don't see why not. Sister Sage. I don't really know what to say here. She just doesn't seem suited to this verse, and her intelligence doesn't appear to translate to outright fighting either, so I'll just call it a day in C-class. Now, round of applause for the legend. Soldier Boy is here. No, not that one. This one, the foul-mouthed Captain America of the boys. The strongest soup in the boys, outside of Homelander, and quite frankly, he is funny as fuck. That part aside though, we're looking at a soup with experience, military training, and power comparable to Homelander himself. Soldier Boy should have enough strength to not only decimate wolf level threats, but also kill tiger level monsters too, and handle some of their best attacks in return. Truthfully, for durability, we've seen him take some attacks that I don't even imagine A-class heroes taking. Being shot in the mouth by a round of assault rifle fire is a level of rawness that I don't even think A-class heroes outside of a My Mask could take. Sure, they scale higher in the top human A tiers, but that's more for their outsides, not swallowing a mouthful of battlefield. Regardless, we know Soldier Boy can handle focused attacks from Homelander's lasers, and even soups with weaponry can't pierce him, such as when Homelander told Black Noir that his blades were pretty much useless. Anyhow, Soldier Boy is as strong as they come in the boys, and the only thing letting him down would be his combat speed, which as we know, doesn't translate well from the boys to One Punch Man. Only the strongest tiger level threats would be able to harm Soldier Boy, but the strongest tigers would also be notably faster. I try not to judge the boy's combat speed too harshly since it's live action, yet demon level threats are consistently too fast for the boys to ignore. Overall, it's A-class for Soldier Boy given his physical power, great durability, military skills, and enhanced reflexes which allow him to keep up with the likes of Homelander. Before you ask, no, the radiation attack doesn't change anything since solid demon level threats are still too fast for him and capable of eating those attacks or outright dodging it, so it'd be great for wolf and tiger level threats, but that's all. Finally though, we get to Homelander. Capable of leveling a city within minutes, flying speed which can get close to A-Train, heat vision that's even able to damage the skin of Soldier Boy, reaction speed in the around hypersonic ranges, and physical power which could see him even lift an airplane, as long as it was on the ground that is. Definitively, Homelander will have the strength to destroy wolf and tiger level threats, and the speed to arguably keep up with the strongest tiger threats and even higher tier of A-class heroes too, albeit not quite as consistently or effectively since the live action show can be a little strange in showcasing that at times. Yet it's still something seen from him at times which has to be accounted for. Regardless of how you think his mental state would hold up, it's clear that he has enough power to be in A-class for One Punch Man, with the real question being can it go any higher? For me, he is absolutely A-class material with the potential to even be in the A My Mask tier of this list, so I'm going to place him somewhere in the middle between A and A My Mask. Now, some of your backs may immediately go up. Well, he's stronger than Tank Top Master is a common one. but actually he's not. Tank Top Master has strength feats above what Homelander has displayed in the show. He's thrown around 250 tons into the sky with one arm faster than the speed of a bullet. People debate whether Homelander can lift 250 tons. Tank Top Master is using one arm to throw 250 tons into the sky at nearly 3,000 miles per hour. Oh, and here he is stopping Metal Knight's construction walker the size of a skyscraper in its tracks, which would weigh several 100,000 tons at the minimum, but probably a lot more. Not only is Tank Top Master faster in combat by way of him being able to defeat massively hypersonic demon level threats who are faster and more lethal than Homelander, but he's actually physically stronger than Homelander too, going by what both have shown. And again, that's Tank Top Master using one arm and throwing the weight at nearly Mach 4 speed, not just lifting it. But does this mean that Homelander has no chance to be an S-class hero? Not necessarily, because there is a way for him to do it, but it is very circumstantial and he'll have to navigate around a My Mask, which I'll go into some detail on too. And luckily for you, I've done a whole video on it a while ago, so that's what you should watch next.
Now, or I will fucking end you.
Thanks for checking this out. Like if you liked, and check that video out if you haven't back when I made it.